All right, that was cool. Welcome to a kind of a special show. This is not something we normally do, but I'm grateful to Isaac for kind of helping me out. We're transitioning to StreamYard, and I don't have any issues talking to people about kind of back office stuff. And it worked okay, but the back office stuff doesn't matter. What matters is the content, and we want to talk about some important topics today as it relates to basketball. We're calling this Run It Back Coast to Coast because I'm a West Coast guy. I've been on the West Coast for the majority of my life. Isaac is an East Coast guy. I'll let him tell his story. I'll tell you mine. I grew up a Laker fan, kind of migrated to the Clippers when they started to be good. Actually, I migrated to them before they were good. And now I still kind of like them. They play great basketball, and that's kind of what I enjoy. Good basketball, and the Lakers and the Clippers do that right now. Isaac is on the other side of the country in Florida. He runs a site called FL Teams. Isaac, I'll let you kind of take it from there.
What's up, Jose? Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to do this with you. Yeah, so I run a website called FL Teams. You can check it out, flteams.com. FL Teams is a glad partner of Jose's site, Peach Basket. And we're just excited to be partnered. And obviously, we have similar focuses, right? Letting young people of all ages, adults too, just write, if they have a passion about sports, basketball, which in Jose's case and for my site, or the major sports and some college teams, as long as the teams are in Florida, hence the name FL Teams. FL stands for Florida. But anyway, happy to be on. I can't wait.
Right on. That wasn't a talking point, but I want to talk about it because I love that you brought it up. I started writing for Bleacher Report back when they were, kind of had the same vision that you just talked about, giving people a chance, a platform. And I loved it. Bleacher Report was awesome back then. They shifted focus a little bit. They got big, and that's okay. But what we tried to do when we built our site, and I know that you've got the same vision, you just said it, is to give people a platform, right? A place to share their passion for their team. So I love that. And, we are not the only two sites like that. There are others. And, we'd love to kind of grow these partnerships with other people that just really want to build a platform for people to talk sports, to write sports, and to do streams about sports. So that was kind of cool. Today we got 2 talking points. That's it. We're going to keep this nice and short, coast to coast. So it makes sense that we talk Lakers and Heat. That's coming up tonight. But we're going to save that for second because yesterday there was a pretty good team, the Clippers, that played a pretty good team, the Jazz. Now, Isaac does not run yet, UtahTeams.com, but he probably will at one point. But he knows the game and he watched the game. So we want to talk a little bit about the Clippers and the Jazz. Let me start with just my observations, and then I want to hear yours because it's interesting. I don't really call myself a fan. I mean, I guess I am. I just like really good basketball. And I've been following the Clippers, so I kind of know them. And it's interesting to me because I know you don't, right? That's not your team. So as a casual observer who knows the game, I really want to get your thoughts on the game. Here are mine, just generally. I thought it was really, really interesting that Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, Nick Batum all came back for this game, especially after they lost the first game. This is the second of back-to-back, right? I thought that was kind of interesting and probably, I'm guessing, planned out because the Clippers wanted to send a message. And it's interesting to me because the Clippers do not have a great history. They've never got they've never gotten to the Western Conference Finals. They live in the shadow of the Lakers here. And so they don't have any business sending messages. But they did. They sent a message. They wanted to send a message, and then it ended up doing it. A really, really good game against a really, really good team. So all in all, it was a W for the Clippers in more ways than one. They got the win, but they also got to send a message to the Utah Jazz and let them know, listen, man, you're good, but we're pretty good too. I got a few other things to talk about, but that's kind of my general overview. What do you think just kind of generally about the game?
Fantastic win on national TV for the Clippers. They beat a team that's arguably been the best in the NBA. They came in with the best record. a 9-game winning streak, and it snapped. The Clippers won 116 to 112. Once again, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George came back, two best players on the Clippers. And obviously, by them coming back, that's why the Clippers won. And this Jazz team is not like when you say, oh, it's the Utah Jazz. This is a different Utah Jazz team this year. Obviously, after that loss, look at their record. 24-6. They could have been 25-5, which is just amazing. Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert. But look. Paul George and Kawhi Leonard did better. Kawhi Leonard got 29 points. Paul George had 15 points, almost lost the game for the Clippers at the end.
Right.
Yeah. But wow, you beat the Jazz, snapped their 9-game winning streak. I'll take it any day of the week.
Yeah. No, and I love what you said about the Jazz, because the Jazz, kind of like the Clippers, haven't had a whole lot of success. You know, if you just count success as getting to the finals and winning the finals, the Jazz haven't, just like the Clippers. But the Jazz historically have had sustained success, right? They've had really good teams before, and they have really good teams now. But there was always that thing that, you know, they were good, but they weren't great. You know, they were good, but they weren't good enough. This team, man, watching them last night, they're good. I don't see a weakness. Gobert's amazing. Donovan Mitchell's amazing. And then they got those steady guys, Jordan Clarkson.
Yep.
Mike Conley. These are really, really good players. And so, yeah, that's a good team that didn't want to lose. You alluded to Paul George, bad foul at the end, a bad turnover at the end. Maybe he was just a little rusty, but yeah, he worked his hardest to give the game to the Utah Jazz. But at the end of the day, the Clippers won it. The only thing I want to say before we move on to the real topic, the real coast-to-coast talk that we want to have, and that's Lakers and Heat. We've got a writer. His name is Stuart, but he goes by Stu, and he wrote both recaps for the Lakers. For the Clippers versus the Heat. And he, in this last article, calling out this particular game last night, he called out Patrick Beverley, and Pat Bev does not get a lot of love nationally. He's the kind of guy that you hate when he's not on your team. He's got a lot of love here in LA. And last night he scored 17 points, played great defense, just coming back from an injury himself. And so, I want to call that out because, this is the kind of guy who kind of flies under the radar a little bit. And, in our recaps, we call out a star of the game and a surprise contributor. And Patrick Beverley, 17 points, was a bit of a surprise. He doesn't score that much normally, but he played really well against the Utah Jazz. So just wanted to call that out, a little pat in the back to Stu and our site, which you could find coincidentally at peach-basket.net. And it's .net. Why, Isaac?
Because what's net? A basketball net.
Oh, thank you. All right. Let's talk Lakers and Heat. This is the exciting game. It's a rematch of the finals, which is always kind of cool. But this is kind of a tale of two teams, man. And the Heat are 12-17 and underperforming. They haven't looked great. I saw them recently against the Clippers, and they didn't look good. It's the same team. It's the same players, but they just don't look the same. The Lakers, on the other hand, are 22-8, but they're without AD. They might not have Dennis Schroeder tonight. It's another key player for them. So it's kind of a tale of two teams, man. I don't want to say going in different directions, but they're kind of going in different directions. Give me an update on the Heat. I can do a little bit, dive a little deeper into the state of the Lakers right now. But I'm curious: is it a mirage? Was last season a mirage? Did they get lucky? Are they? Which is the real Heat team? The one we saw last season, or the one we're seeing this season?
The answer is both. They're both real. I know there's a lot of talk around the NBA that, it was like not really a one-season wonder, but it was a fluke, right?
Right.
But you have Eric Spoelstra. The Heat were good in the NBA bubble. And Jay Crowder stepped up, who's not on the team this year. So you lose Jay Crowder, you say it's not that big of a impact. He had 30 points last night, first of all, if you want to get into the Phoenix Suns. Jay Crowder is a veteran. He has playoff experience, and he's a great defensive player. So that's an impact, not necessarily why they made the finals, but the Heat were like really good in the playoffs. Like Jimmy Butler came out of his shell. And then this year they're
Right.
still real. I mean, it's not like we've seen teams in the past in any sport have a really good season and then a bad season. Let's use the LA Rams for the example. They made the Super Bowl against the Patriots the next season. They were bad. But in this case, the Heat, they have a few excuses. Not that we should use excuses, but COVID, injuries. Goran Dragic's been out for a few weeks, and he's key. If he's healthy, he's a starter for the Heat. Right now, it's Kendrick Nunn. He did finish second in Rookie of the Year voting last year, but Kendrick Nunn has not been that good this year, and he wasn't good in the playoffs last year. But anyway, Goran Dragic's a big loss. Avery Bradley, who we signed this offseason, was on the Celtics and the Lakers. Lakers, right? But those are key two depth pieces, right? Goran Dragic could probably be a starter. Hero hasn't been that good, but the most disappointing player, Duncan Robinson, not making a lot of threes. And that is probably the most key player on the Heat. You say, Isaac, really? Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo. Threes are like the key into winning games these days, right?
Yeah.
And he hasn't been that good. So it's, there's some excuses. There's some excuses that you can't make. But both teams last year and this year are the real deal, right? It's not like there was a fluke or, the Heat just had luck. This is right now the skill of the Heat with Duncan Robinson not playing well, right? You can turn things around. Duncan Robinson is a star last year, and he's not good this year. That's what happens.
Okay. All right. Let me ask you a real direct and pointed question then, right? The Heat were in the finals last season. If you were to put a percentage, 100% being absolute certain, 0% being no chance at all. What's the chance right now the Heat get back to the finals this season?
Oh, and if you ask me this question for any team, I'd say at most 51%. There's probably going to be one team where I'd put 51 or 52%, and that'd be the Lakers. But even a team like the Nets, I'd put below 50%. Because when you have each team, you can't go above 50, except maybe one team. For the Heat, I put them around the same percentage as the Celtics, the Sixers, which is around 30%.
Okay.
Because if the Heat make the playoffs, and it seems like I think they will, and it's going to be as the 7th or 8th seed, it doesn't matter. The Heat have Heat culture, right? Eric Spoelstra knows what he's doing. I'm not worried about what seed the Heat come in as long as they make the playoffs, they can make it far. They can beat the number 1 seed. They can beat any team in the NBA. And the Lakers, I know they have injuries tonight, but we'll get into that. If the Heat can beat the Lakers tonight, I know they're only going to get one win added to their record, but it's going to mean much more than one win.
It's going to feel like more, right? Yeah, I got you. Okay, last thing, and then, well, you know what? I'll say that for last. Let me give you kind of my overview of the state of the Lakers. The Lakers are an interesting team. I don't think anybody expected LeBron to be this good. The hope was that when, they signed LeBron, my understanding of it, my feeling, my gut tells me, they had hoped to get a year or two of just prime LeBron, and then he could kind of, mentor the new guys. The Lonzo Balls, the Julius Randles, the guys that they had, right, that they got rid of, Jordan Clarkson. But what happened is they got rid of all those guys, to bring in AD. And the hope there was, okay, well, listen, now AD is going to be, the face of the Lakers. He's going to be the alpha. But I don't know that AD is really cut for that. He needs an alpha to feed off of. He's a phenomenal player, but we saw, and he's a different player than he was with the Pelicans. But with the Pelicans, he didn't really lead that team the way LeBron is leading this team. LeBron's a leader, man. He's an alpha. He's incredible. He's different. He's just cut different. But the Lakers, I don't think expected it in their wildest dreams to have, in his 18th year at the age that he is, to have him be as good as he is. I don't think anybody expected it. I think the only person who expected it was LeBron James. But he's phenomenal. And he has single-handedly won games defensively, offensively for this team, and he's just amazing. Now AD is out. He might be out for a while. Anytime you hear Achilles, right, in the in the NBA, you worry. It's not a tear, it's a strain, but it's scary, man. I mean, your Achilles ruptures, you change as a ball player sometimes, and you're certainly out for a year. So the Lakers are in a precarious position right now. They've got to have other people step up. Kyle Kuzma's been doing well, stepping up. They're having some real issues at the center position because Marc Gasol is just kind of shell of who he was. So I think, certainly the stretch yesterday they said it's going to be about 4 weeks without AD. It's going to be tough. The Lakers are not built like most of the other really good teams you see, where the Clippers have got depth. The Heat have got, you just said, right? Duncan Robinson is a key player for them. They've got different players that they rely on, whereas the Lakers rely on two, right? They've got to have AD and they've got to have LeBron to be great. And when they have those two, they're great. They don't have those two right now. So it's going to be interesting. And they might be without Schroeder too. So it's going to be really, really interesting. This is this tough stretch of the season for them. You said that this W for the Heat, should they get it, it's just a W. This L for the Lakers, they're going to brush it off should they get it, because it's just a regular season game. It's no big deal. We're without AD, we're without Schroeder. But obviously they want to win the game. But it's going to be tough. The one thing, as I look at this game, and I was surprised, I was doing a little research, getting ready to talk to you because I don't, follow the Heat. Yeah. But I was surprised to find out that the Heat lead the NBA in turnovers, which is kind of surprising to me. That might be a Goran Dragic thing. He's out. He's generally their ball handler. But yeah, 16.5, 17 turnovers a game is a lot. And these Lakers are going to take advantage of that. So I think that's certainly something to watch for tonight. But yeah, I'm excited about the game. I think it'll be a competitive game. And without AD and with the Miami Heat kind of struggling, I think it's going to be a good matchup. And you're going to see that kind of the Utah Clipper game yesterday. Gobert came out and said it was a playoff atmosphere. I think you're going to see that again tonight, which is going to be kind of cool. So this is a question I wanted to leave you with. And I'll answer it after you answer it, when we'll give you the first crack at it, right? Pick a winner and pick a score.
I hate to go against my Heat, but that's what it seems like this season. Lakers are going to win. I can say that off the bat. Because you say, there's no Anthony Davis, possibly Dennis Schroeder. But then for the Heat, they're still without Dragic. Avery Bradley, which would have been nice to see Avery Bradley's return against the Lakers, right? He opted out, by the way, so he wasn't part of their NBA Finals run. He did get a ring, right? He was part of their regular season team, so congratulations to him. And he would have actually got his ring tonight.
Yeah, that's
maybe he will if he's in attendance, right, on the bench, but he won't be in uniform. But I'm going to go with both teams getting plus 100 points. I'm going to go with the Lakers 123, Heat 110.
I'm writing it down. All right. High scoring game. And you got the Lakers, right? You said Lakers 123, 110?
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to go Heat. I'm going to totally switch it up. I'm going to go Heat winning. Because the Lakers, right now are still acclimating. They're still trying to figure out what to do, without AD. And the Heat just are motivated. I think they need this win more than the Lakers do, right? At the end of the day, I think that's
the only thought in the back of my head was the Heat were motivated. I don't know if you saw the Golden State game the other day. They were up by so much, they blew it. Golden State forced overtime, and the Heat lost in a huge game. They already had a losing streak. The Heat were trying to beat Golden State with Steph Curry. They were about to do it. Jimmy Butler had a triple-double, and they still lose.
Wow.
First of all, if Jimmy Butler gets a triple-double tonight, 4 straight games with the triple-double.
Okay.
Unbelievable. Right. That's going to be unbelievable. So,
something to watch for then. Yeah, and I remember that one game. I think it was game 6 or had to have been game
Yeah,
5,
it was
where Butler and LeBron James just went head to head. I mean, that was amazing. So I'd love to see that tonight. So I'm going to pick the Heat 111-107. I wrote it down so nobody can claim that it didn't happen. And I will share this stuff later with the world. Winner gets bragging rights. All right, man. That was our special Saturday show. I appreciate you taking the time, Isaac. Run it back coast to coast from Florida, from California. Appreciate the time. We'll talk again.